Hello everybody, in this video I'm going to show you how you can use this new function. It's called JavaScript fetch. It will allow you to not only just fetch or call your API calls to a different URL, but it will also allow you to upload videos. If you have not used it, you should definitely consider start using it right now, because it's a native function within the JavaScript, which means you do not have to include any other library, which will make your life a whole lot easier. So let me just show you what we are going to be covering. So here we go. So we are going to be working on two parts. One is to get the API data from an API URL. And when you see this, you're gonna be like, holy cow, Mark, this is amazing. So here we go. So when I click on here, it's gonna go to the API URL, come back and bring this JSON data and just displays in here. That'd be number one. Number two will be upload a file. And in here, I'm gonna show you how you can easily upload a single file, multiple files, two different ones, and have one API call to your server and include both of these and everything you see in here. So for example, your name, email, single file, multiple files, one profile, two, grab all of this and send it to your server at one time rather than multiple different times. So if you're excited about this, I'm excited. So let's get this party started. So let me show you how you are going to get the API data call. So let me refresh this. So let's see, let's look at the GUI part of it, which is your interface, which is basically this right over here, which creates the button and which is right over here. So basically, not to worry about it. If you want to copy this, there will be a link in the description in which you can go and copy this. But if you want to just pause this video and copy it, that's up to you, but I don't recommend it. Be lazy like me and cut, copy, paste, and off you go. So here's the thing. This is just your regular H tag, and then you have a dig, and I'm using a Bootstrap. And then here's a to button that I'm using anytime someone clicks on this, which is your API data or you upload. And if somebody clicks on API data, let's look at this over here. Let's go all the way to the top, right over here. So whenever someone clicks on it, this event code will take in place. And I'm using the ES6 function, which is a constant. You can also use variable, which I have used plenty of time in the past. And this is the URL that I'm fetching API data from. And then I have option, which is a method, which means I'm gonna only get request and not post or put or delete, although you can use it with this fetch API. Unlike your jQuery, you know, I love me some jQuery. If you're interested, there's going to be a link in the description for you to take the course, which will help you master jQuery and DOM manipulation. With this particular function, which is called fetch, it is a native function within the JavaScript. So you do not have to include anything. You literally just write this. So if you just want to call a regular API, just the URL, you could just include this and not include the post part, which is the option part of it, and let it rip. And then what this is going to do is it's going to go get it, and then you want to use this, which is the promise, and then convert it into JSON, and then call another promise, which will be the JSON coming from here. And then from here, you can manipulate anything you want to do. So if there's an error, you can catch the error in this particular block. It is super easy to use the JavaScript fetch function to call your API calls thing, and you could just pass data back and forward. This is fairly simple. And once you get the JSON data or any kind of data you want, but I'm converting this into JSON. However, if you want to convert it into XML or text or any other format, you can go to this particular URL, which is and then I will obviously leave the link in the description for you to cut, copy, paste, and include it into your project. You can go in here and read more about it. But once you follow this, you're gonna be like, this is pretty straightforward. You don't need to follow it. So let's say this is the part where we're just getting a random information, a JSON data from this URL. And then once it gets it, I'm just using it, a stringify, to convert it into a pretty format, which will be, for example, if I click on this, it will convert it into this nice little pretty format. So let's move on over to uploading a file. But before I do that, and this is the structure that I have, and I'm using XM, by the way, as my local host. And if you're using a PHP part of it, you would need some kind of local host environment, whether you use an XAMPP, WAMP, or gazillion amp, whatever the hell they call it. But I personally like XM. That's just me. And if you want to learn how to use XM, there's going to be a link in the description which will walk you through it step by step, how to install it, how to get set it up, and then you can rock and roll with this thing. So there are two files in here. One is the index, which is the interface that you see right over here. Let me just zoom it in. So if you're looking at it on a mobile view, which I try to do it sometime, and it looks a little weird because it's like, oh my God, it's so tiny, I can't really see it. So let me zoom it in a little more, maybe right there. Okay, you should be able to see it right on your cell phone. Fairly good. All right, so that's the interface right here, which is part of, where did it go? Here we go. So this is part of your index file, and then the AJAX is where your PHP takes in, which means you are able to upload the file and take the information that's coming from your index and then upload it and then filter through it and then put on the files in here. So right now there is nothing in this particular folder. So let's just upload a single file. So I'll just call this code with Mark, and then I'll just type in mark@gmail.com. And I'm just going to use a single file only. And I'll just pick the question mark, I guess that's fine. And then I'll click on upload. And then once it's done, it's going to say, hey, this is the username, a JSON object, which you can utilize it into your project later on. And then for your object file, which is 0, which means only one file, this is the new old name that it originally had it. And then it was changed to this. And then it was moved to this particular folder path, which is upload. And then if you want direct access to this particular file, all you got to do is just copy this, right click it, and it opens up right here. And just to show you it did upload it, obviously you know it uploaded because I went to the URL and it was able to see it. So for example, if I click on this, go here, here's the file right here. And then there is this file. If I open this up, bingo. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna delete this and then reload the page. And then we're gonna walk through step by step what happens when you click on this, what happens when you go to the next part, how does this particular screen loads up, and what happens after you click on upload. So if you're with me so far and you enjoy this, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already, so you can get these amazing videos upcoming as soon as I publish them. And I try my best to publish them once a week, at least a really good video that will help you speed up your web development projects. So let's move forward. So let me refresh it one more time. So I click on this upload button. Let's see what happens when we click on the upload button. So this is the trigger that it happens, so which is coming right over here. So anytime I click on this particular button, it's gonna go to this particular container, and it says container user screen. It literally scoops up all this information, and then it will post it in this post message container div. And this is how I like to use it because that just makes life a whole lot easier. And then this is literally what's happening. So I'm saying go to this particular container, grab all of its HTML, and then assign it to a variable S, and then post it into this post message HTML, and then we have this particular thing. All right, hopefully you're with me. All right, awesome. So once it's posted, which means it's gonna come up over here, then we can enter in our name, our email, single file, simple, multiple file, choose if you want to, and so on and so forth. All right, so that's what's happening here. And then one thing I do want to point out, so let's look at these things, which is your single file and then multiple files. So when we are using these, so this is your single file container input, and file type is 1. I just ID'd it 0, 1, 2. And if you want to allow your users to upload multiple files, you just have to add this small attribute to your HTML. That way, when you're uploading it to JavaScript Fetch API, it will know to say, hey, this is multiple, and you want to include it into as multiple file. And then there's a button that's called when someone clicks on upload. And this is the button when I assigned it a class called btn_upload_file upload data. When someone clicks on this upload, this is going to get triggered. And this is exactly what's happening over here. So in here, I'm using this new, well, kind of old, but for me it's new because I'm used to using this global variable called var, but now there is a let. I'm just practicing with it, see if I like it or not, but we'll see. So far it's okay. I personally like the used var, but this is okay too. So let's move forward. So I'm assigning it to this particular container, which is your post message. That will become my element number 0. And then from here, what I can do is I can say, hey, go to this container and find me this particular input and get me all the files that were clicked on and assign it to a variable called f1, which is file 1, file 0, file 1, file 2, and then I'm using this form data. What that means, I can allow it to store information that I can send it to my PHP server or any other server you want to send it to. It will be a JSON format. Then I'm assigning a variable called fd, which is form data. And in here, I'm saying the first variable, when you want to assign something to it, is going to be append, and then whatever the name of that particular object that you want assigned. And the second will be the value do you want to assign it to. That will be the second parameter. So in this case, anytime I enter in the name or the email, it's going to get assigned in here. And I'm saying when I'm looking up in a PHP world, I'm going to look for this particular JSON object and get the value, and this one for get its email. And then this is for single file. And I want to look for this particular JSON object, and I only want to get the first object, which means there's only going to be one file. So whatever the first object is going to have a value of 0. All right. So with me so far? All right. So now we're going to get all the files for group. I just need to take that out, and I'll just take it out here to make it clean and easy for you to understand when you download these files. All right. So now in here, because this has multiple one, I'm going to loop through it using the jQuery loop. So every time it goes in there and then you assign it, and just make sure that this is the most critical part of it. You include this array, which is a open bracket, close bracket. So when it goes to PHP, it knows that it has more than one file. Otherwise, it would just look at your first file and that's it. So you make sure you include that in here. And this is the variable, object variable that we're going to look for in PHP. All right, so far so good, right? Awesome, right? So give that smash if you so far you're enjoying this. Smash that like button or comment below if you feel like, hey, if I missed something, there's something that you should have included. Make sure you include it in the comments for me. All right, I'm going to repeat the process second time for my file uploader multiple time for the 2, which is right over here. And it just updates it. And now let's go look at the PHP, Ajax PHP file, because that's where the magic is going to happen. But before we do that, I just want to show you this one thing, which is the similar to what we did up here, where we assign the variable called URL and the options. And this time around, we're going to use the same thing. URL in this case will be your Ajax. And the option will be, the method will be post instead of a get. And for your body, which is your JSON data, you want to send it over to your server, it's going to be attached to a JSON object called body, and then whatever you want to attach to it, it'll just send it over. and then rest is pretty much the same right over here. So let's take a look at on the Ajax PHP file, and then we're going to go over here and first check to see actually for all of this right over here. You don't have to worry about it because this is already taken care of. And basically what that means is it's going to assign you an absolute path, which will be only local to your server. If you're using a local server, it's going to be available for your local. You can literally use this. It's going to take you exactly to, let's see, this directory right here in terms of your local path. And if you use this particular variable, then it's going to be used to a URL that you can literally use it on the front end side, which would be right over here. All right, so far so good. So now first thing on the PHP side, when you use the JavaScript API, the fetch API is going to check to see if user name is set. If it is, then we can continue. We can assign the username to a username, email to email, and then this is the file path that we're going to upload to. All the files that are going to go in, it's going to go into the upload folder right over here. And then we're assigning a array 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, just like we did with the file 0, 1, 2. And now we're going to go over here and say, hey, if there is a file for 0, which means only a single file, then we're going to go to this file. We're going to assign the object 0 to say, hey, read this. Remember when I said this particular object, which is a file underscore object, is going to come from, where is it? Right over here. It's only going to have one file. So let's say hypothetically speaking, go back here. So if I don't attach any files, let's just say, yada, 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 and I only click on upload. So what it's going to do is it's going to say, hey, you don't have anything and everything else is blank, but you do have username and email. So this is why we are checking to see right over here if it's attached. If it is attached, then go run this code and then upload it to the upload folder. Otherwise, completely ignore it. So let's go on. So in here, I'm assigning it to v1, which will be the file name. This is only for single file. And then I'm going to get the file name. And then from here, I'm going to get the extension. And then from there, I'm just going to assign a new file name to it, which will be just file underscore object underscore 0 underscore some hash with the uni ID, which is just the generic hash random ID. And then I'm going to attach a extension to it, whatever the file extension is, whether it be a PHP, whether it be a JPG, whether it'll be a PDF, whatever it is, just attach it to it. And then I'm going to say go to this absolute path, which will be this right over here, and then assign it to this, which is your upload folder path, which is right over here, and then add a file to it. So basically what that means is go to this particular path of your local host, whether it'll be on your server or it will be on your local machine, and then upload the file in here. And to upload the file, all you have to do is just use this PHP function to move the file from your temp file into the final destination. And then once it's done, it's going to assign a array, which we declared it right over here to say, hey, this is the old file, this is the new file, this is the move to, and this is the download path. So let's do that. And now in here where we can upload a multiple files, right? So multiple files. So now I'm attaching it to object 1, which is the same thing in here. If we go back to our index PHP file and look over here, and then it has a file underscore object underscore 1, and then it has the array, which means now it has the multiple files. So we got to use on the PHP side for each loop. So it's going to go through all those files and then it's going to upload them. So let's say first time we go around, and this will look familiar. This is exactly what's happening, what we did with a single file. But this time around, in here, we're just gonna say K1, which will be the index number index number 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is gonna keep on looping through it, depending on how many different files you have. And then destination is gonna move it, and then same process, assign it to attach here, so on and so forth. And same thing happens for the second batch, which means if you're uploading it, multiple different files. And then I am just echoing it out in a JSON format. So when we look at it, we get this, which is right over here. So, all right, so let's test this out and let's do multiple different files instead of one. And before we do that, make sure there's nothing in here, refresh this. So this particular folder, the upload folder, is empty. So in here, I'm just gonna type in code with Mark, and then email is mark@codewithmark.com. By the way, I don't have this email. This is just a fictitious email. So don't try to email it. And you probably want to get back like, hey, the email does not exist. So let's go over here. Let's add a multiple file. So I'll just add these 3, I guess. And then as you'll see, there's 3 in here. If I click on upload, it's gonna go over here, show me all the information, because obviously the first one doesn't have anything. And this one has it, and the second one doesn't. And then what I did was I added an option where you can click on this download button, and then it will upload and show you a dialog box in which you can download it for all of them. And let's look at that. How does that work? So if we go back to our index.php, we left it over here, and then we use the fetch API for JavaScript. And then we went over here, which is JSON data. Then we stringified it to make it look pretty. And then we're checking to see if the file object 1 has any kind of data, which is this right over here. If it does have any kind of data, then we're gonna loop through all those different files that we have assigned it to A1, which we did over here. When we are pushing into array, assign it to array. And then what I wanna do is I wanna go on and create an image, which is part of the bootstrap. I'm using a round circle. And then also your href tag, which is your URL that you can actually go and open it. And if you include this download attribute, it will force your browser, whether you're using Chrome, Mozilla, or any other modern browser, it will force it to download the file to your user's computer. So that's what's happening here. And then I'm just appending it to our S1, which is the container call message board. And this is exactly what happens here. So hopefully you found this helpful, because if you did, make sure you click that subscribe button and comment below. And also, if you are interested in taking the JavaScript course that I offer, it's going to be a link in the description for you. Until next time, guys, happy coding.